Hey, this is Chris Gethard, and you're listening to Is That Your Kid? You better buckle up, man, because Todd and Jake, they're about to take you on a real ride.
Good evening, everyone. This is episode 8 of Is That Your Kid podcast with Todd, the Bod, and Jake, scared out of his mind, Zerme. And actually, when I said this evening, it's a very interesting episode. Very, very interesting, because traditionally speaking, we tape on Sunday afternoons, but we are taping Friday evening, and we are taping in my attic. And to add insult to injury, I'm pretty drunk. I don't want to speak for my co-host, but my lovely, kissable co-host, Jake, is on the other side of this small, what we see as a poker table.
I think it's safe to say we're both in the same boat. And with that said, I'd like to say that I'm pretty uncomfortable and scared.
Yeah.
In general about
both
being here.
Both of us are.
And hopefully you will be soon.
Right. And I'm gonna actually plug my personal Instagram at Is That Todd Tondera. Wait, no. I said, is that? That's not real.
You can never get that.
No.
Anything right like that.
If you look up Instagram.com, look up Todd Tondera, Tondera, you will see a picture of my friend Jake in the attic. And Jake wanted this episode, so we are in my attic.
I wanted it, but I didn't want it because I'm uncomfortable, as I've said.
Because there are a lot of stories with the house that we live in.
The last time we came up here and we scoped it out, 5 days
I
ago?
forgot about that.
Hold on, let me see if I can. Should I twinkle them?
Yes.
We came up here, scoped it out. It's a little cluttered. I wouldn't say dirty. It's definitely not dirty up here, but there's a lot of clutter.
Long story short, I moved stuff out of the way just so we could post up a table up here, but it is shit.
And we came up here, and I said, Todd, you have a little keyboard up here. And I plunked a couple notes, and then...
What did I say after that?
I don't want... No.
Jake had found a small piano, and I said, you could hear that piano play sometimes when you aren't in the room. Jake and I went into the other room, and I swear to you, Jake, what happened?
It could have been a box that fell onto it, but it could have
been.
I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about it, but I will play it.
The piano played when we were in the other room.
Hopefully I'll play it
by itself.
And it might play again. I don't know, but here...
Bro, what if it plays again?
I don't want it
So Jake is actually going to walk over to the piano and hit some bumps on it. You may not hear it, though.
Yeah, you'll hear it.
He's got to get past a lot of the jump.
Which already sounds scary.
Scary.
I scared myself. I'm coming back to my seat.
But we had plugged in an old lamp, and that's what we're lighting this podcast by. But just to get the atmosphere correct, we are on the 4th floor of my house, which is cluttered with junk, and I moved stuff aside. And we had put a table up, plugged in an old lamp, and we were recording on a Friday night. And for those who don't know me, or for those who do know me, either way, my house back in McKeesport has a bit of a reputation for being a haunted establishment, and we're going to go through that. Now, if you listened to episode 7 last week, Jake had cut me off. I did hear a bump.
Did you? It's got to be someone downstairs.
I did hear a bump. I swear to God, I heard a bump.
Dude,
did you hear that thump?
Now, I'd like to just say that we waited till everyone in Todd's house was asleep before we came up here, and there's bumping.
There's a thump. I heard the thump already.
Just one singular thump. But let's move on.
Let's move on. And so Jake had cut me off because he had requested a episode. And I will say this, not since I've been a little kid has this been super haunted, but it's been relatively haunted even as an adult. But as a little kid, this has been haunted. Big
So-
time when I was a little kid.
So the fact that you were a little kid
Plays into this.
plays into that.
Yes.
And even your sister as well.
Oh, no, more so her than me. More so her than me.
And
She's
we'll get
still
into
scared
that.
to this day.
And
She's
we'll get
still
into that.
scared to this day.
You know what? This story, and then this is for our listeners. I tell this story when people tell ghost stories, and everyone's got a ghost story. You know, every single person you know has got one, except me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I do when it gets around to
I
me?
don't know.
Everyone tells a ghost story. When it gets around to me, you know what I do? I
What?
tell your ghost story. I
My
say-
bro tells my ghost stories his own.
No, not as your own. I say I have a friend, and this is what happens.
Okay.
And guess what? People get spooked, and you know
People
what?
get spooked.
Your sister is a part of the. Your sister
Mhm.
is the part that gets people.
Yeah.
People.
Oh, no.
You know.
And
That's the
those,
part that
and
freaks
those
people
who
out.
don't know me, it's going to be hard to understand. But those who do know me know that my sister till this day is still spooked by anything, and it's based off what I'm going to say. But
So start from the beginning.
I will. And we actually got an email this week. Is that your kid at yahoo.com? Wow, Jake has just stood up.
Just leave it. I
he
can't
won't
even.
stand up. He won't stand up. Anyway, I'll
I'll put him this way, so if he really does, it's really bad. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Is that your kid at yahoo.com? You could email us at any time you feel it necessary, but if this is your first time listening, we often get emails about weird towns that they want us to speak of, or just comments saying, I like your podcast, etc., etc. And I call this person Dave 1 because there's 2 Daves that listen to this podcast, but this is from Dave 1. And he has in the past told us about different haunted towns that he wants us to talk about. This one he emails, Dave says, "So what if I told you there was a town with a lot of closed churches, a considerable amount of violence, unsolved mysteries concerning murdered children, and an average of 1 death a week for the last 2 years? You'd guessed it, McKeesport. Just saying." And that's where we are today. We're in McKeesport, which is my hometown. And I'm trying to be okay on my diction because I am drunk. So if my diction is either really articulate or really bad, that's because I'm trying to sound out words to make sense.
Just be forgiving.
But we are in McKeesport, and we are in Todd Town, right here, ladies and gentlemen. And what I had mentioned before is about, I don't know, roughly 1 minute before the podcast started, I actually found my parents, they're divorced, but my parents' cake topper from their wedding in my attic. And
Right here, I'm looking right at him.
Jake is looking right at the cake toppers. And
There's a bride and a groom.
there's a bride and the groom. And the groom keeps falling down.
We can't, I'll be honest, we cannot keep him upright.
And we
Which is fitting because your dad no longer lives here.
My dad no longer lives here, and he keeps
No, I've
falling
leaned him.
down.
I've leaned him against the bride. So
And he
if he
keeps
falls down
standing up.
now, we're in big trouble.
We are in big
He's
trouble.
still up.
Because he is leaning against the bride. And the reason why, you don't think that's creepy, but I'll explain to you why it's creepy right now. Now, Jake, I'll be real about this. Are you ready for this?
I haven't heard the whole story from the beginning in probably a few years.
In probably a few years. And I think that I actually got a portable recorder, so I plan on recording some of my dad the next time I see him of stories to back up what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying, you're just like, no, that's not a thing. But I will record him saying this, and this is what I've heard from him as a little kid. So, with that said, I will explain the full story of how my house... Jake is looking around like a crazy animal.
Just keep going, please. Don't.
Just keep looking at that doorway, bro.
I don't wanna look at
Because
the
I
doorway.
am. I keep looking at that doorway.
Okay, keep going.
Why the story of my house is haunted.
Oh, can I interrupt? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
From here on out, we're 9 minutes in. From here on out, can we refrain from using the G word?
Oh, you mean ghost?
From here on out, that was the last one. We're gonna
Ghost.
nope, Todd. We're gonna call it a G word.
Okay, we're gonna call it a G word.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to look. I will personally hold it against you
Okay.
if I bring
okay.
something home.
Oh, you know about stuff that brought home.
If I bring anything home, man, I will never forgive you.
Okay.
I will never, ever forgive
Okay.
you.
That's okay. That's
I
okay.
don't. So maybe just.
All right, to start this out, bro, this is what I'm doing. We're looking at the bride and the groom, and I'm going to stand the groom not leaning against the bride and see what happens. The groom is now...
I'm not going to touch the table.
I'm not going to touch... I hadn't before, and you saw that it fell. Just right over.
Be cool. He doesn't even want to stand up.
He's doesn't.
Hold him up. Oh, man, we got to take a picture of them because you know what? I'll take a picture right now.
Yeah. Try to take a picture of him.
Yikes. He does not want to.
The bride and the groom.
Get him. Okay.
On this table. Take a picture of the bride and the groom. And this was a cake topper to my parents' wedding. And I'll explain why this is creepy in a bit, so you're not going to get it, but I cannot get him to stand up.
He stood up before?
Look.
Hold on. What's up with his feet?
Fix his feet. If you think it's a feet thing, because the ghost in this house is actually a male.
It's a G word.
Oh, a G word. The G
there,
word.
he's good. I got him.
Okay.
I got him.
And take that picture. The bride and the groom, my cake topper of my parents.
What do you think about that one?
Yes.
Okay, move on.
Yes.
Go.
So you can hit up at what's your Instagram? Say your Instagram.
It's at JZerm, but don't even bother with that.
Okay. At Jake Zerm. One word. Zerm is spelled SZIRM. Jake. Jake Zerm.
JSZIRM.
J Zerm. Okay, sorry, they're not gonna get that.
That's what I said already. Just move on.
Bro.
Huh? Okay.
I didn't touch it.
Okay, I'm putting him back up.
I didn't touch that.
I'm putting him back up.
I didn't touch that groom.
He's good.
I didn't touch that groom.
Good.
I promise.
Just
I didn't touch him.
keep moving on. I'm getting cold here.
Yeah, it is cold. It is cold. Okay. So the story about my house. I lived here for a long time. Now I took an absence from this house. I lived by myself for 3 years, but I have since come back to it. I didn't touch it. You saw me.
It's
it
on.
Fell over.
I see the blip.
You saw the blip from when it fell, so hopefully that picked up by the mic that it fell over again. No, leave it. Just leave it over. Wouldn't it be sick if it stood up by itself? Anyway.
Don't give him ideas.
Okay, so I'm gonna get scared as I'm telling the story, and Jake is too. So why my house is haunted? It's not. And I'll be straight up right now. It's not as haunted as it used to be as I was a little kid, but it is haunted nonetheless. Okay. So this story starts out, my mom and dad, my dad and my mom lived about 2 or 3 blocks over, which I don't think Jake knows that. My dad and my mom lived a couple blocks away from this house, and they actually lived in a duplex, so they lived in the upper story of a house. And my parents, obviously, they were pregnant. My mom was, well, not my parents were pregnant. My mom was pregnant. She was pregnant with my sister. And they needed to expand, so they needed a house. So they looked on Shield Street, which is where this house is, for a house. And there was a woman who was selling the house, and she was looking to move out. And here's where it gets G-wordy. The woman was looking to move out because her husband had since passed away. Now, this woman had 2 kids, and so she wanted to move out of the house because her husband had passed away. Not passed away in the house or anything like that, but she said passed away at a young age. And so they moved out of the, my parents bought the house, and they had my sister, and then 4 years after they had my sister, they had me. Okay. But the mom that moved out of this house had a little girl and a little boy who was quite young, baby age. Roughly my sister and my age. So we were the same age as the 2 little kids that had left this house. So, to kind of put it towards what's going on. So my parents moved in with my sister and baby me. I was a little baby. And the person who had moved out had since, her husband had passed away, and her kids came with her. Now, my sister is roughly about 4 years older than me. 4 years older than me. And the kids that moved out were roughly my sister and I's age.
Same age.
Same age.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the G word stuff comes in. The ghost stuff comes in. So, okay. I'll just say it.
Just go forward.
He came back to the house after his passing. Now, this gentleman, to be real with you, once upon a time I knew his name. I don't remember it, to be honest. I don't remember it. But he had died in a motorcycle accident. I don't know where that motorcycle accident was. I do know that it was relatively close to this house. But his spirit came back to the house. And my sister and me were the same age as his kids. And here comes the chilling stuff up your spine. He thought that I and my sister were his kids. So we're going to date back to the 90s, the early 90s. He had returned to the house, and he would, I have a lot of stories, some personally that I've experienced. A lot of them my dad experienced, my sister experienced. My sister never came back from those stories. She's still scared of everything.
Well, go ahead and say, what's the first thing that you remember that you and your sister shared? What's the first experience that you both were like, yep, yeah, oh, that's definitely a real thing, even if you didn't openly admit that was like a G-word thing.
Well, at the time, I was not scared of this, by the way. Just a little caveat to the story. I was not scared of this because...
Well, you're still in the age range of, like,
right.
Imaginary friend status.
Right, imaginary friend status. But there was a person in our house that used to tuck us into bed at night. And that's not a lie.
Oh.
That's true. There would be somebody that would tuck us into bed, I wouldn't say every night, but something that I remember. But it wasn't really scary to me at the time because I was like, well, that's just who tucks me into bed. And I would go to... Is that you making that click noise? There was a click noise.
A click noise?
Yeah.
There's no click noise.
Okay, I made it up, I guess.
I hope you made it up. Keep going.
But anyway, there was a click. There was a click noise for sure.
Just keep.
That would tuck us into bed at night, and I didn't really think anything of it, and so that's what would happen. Now, my sister, and by the way, this mirror is still there. My sister used to see him in the mirror in her room.
And he had a hat on.
Yes, he would have a top hat on. He had a top hat on, and just traditional clothes. I think sometimes you'd see him with buttons. I'm not positive. I've seen him myself, but I'm just trying to picture it. But it was definitely with a hat. But she would see him in the mirror, and she would hear him coming up and down the stairs at night.
The ones that we...
No, not these stairs. The
first
stairs.
floor, the first floor to the second.
You know
floor.
how you get to like my room and her room?
Yes,
those
the first
stairs.
floor to the second floor. Okay.
Yes. So not these stairs. But she would see him coming up and down, and she would scream her head off in the middle of the night, and my mom would come up there and like fix it.
Now here's the thing. Have you okay. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead, but I'll ask you the same thing later. Did your mom ever, ask you about it, or talk to you about it?
Not till I was a little bit older.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going with the story.
Mm-hmm.
But up and down the stairs, those stairs, the second floor stairs, not these stairs that we're on in the attic. But the reason why we're in the attic is because the most common thing that they do remember, not me, by the way. I don't want to pretend, but the most common thing that they would remember, my mom and my sister, is he would come up the second floor stairs, and you'd only know this if you knew how my house is set up. He'd come up, not these stairs, but the second floor stairs, make that right into that bedroom down there, my sister's bedroom, and then disappear into the door.
What door?
That door.
At the bottom.
The attic door. He would disappear.
Okay, I don't like that you're even saying that.
He would disappear into that door, and that was a common thing. And even in my memory, now growing up, there was a stint where this is going to be embarrassing, but I'll say it. There was a stint where my mom and I and my sister slept in that same room. I slept on a bottom bunk, my sister slept on the top bunk, and my mom slept on a mattress in the floor. And we would all sleep there with the covers over our head. And we used to sleep...
I don't know this.
No, you don't know
I
this.
don't know this.
You don't know this. And this is real. My mom would sleep on the floor. I would sleep in the bottom bunk. My sister would sleep on the top bunk. And there would be somebody that would come into the room at night and walk through the room. And I was still at the age where I wasn't too creeped out about it. Because at the time I thought it was my dad or what have you. But it would walk through the room and up these stairs. The stairs that were here. And that was the thing. My sister would get scared, but I'd be like, chill out, because it's just somebody we know or what have you. And but it was quite weird. That was quite weird. And let's fast forward a little bit. Let's get a little personal. Since I've had a couple drinks, let's get a little personal.
Okay.
My parents had split when I was 10. I'm 26, so 16 years ago. And I didn't see my dad for a bit during that, but afterwards I did see my dad. I would hang out with my dad, and maybe the first or second time I hung out with my dad, he was like, I gotta let you know about something. I was like, what? And he said, after I left the house, he's like, I'm comfortable talking to you about this now, but he's like, there's something going on in your house. And I was like, well, what do you mean?
Well, take a pause. He told you that?
Yes. So my dad actually told me this before anybody lived here.
He knew the whole time.
He knew the whole time.
Okay, wow, yikes.
Okay, so as you sip that Keystone, which is basically the only beer I like. Okay, so I'll set up that situation. And I do remember it. It's so crazy that I remember it. But my mom used to work at Ames, and it was in the Ames parking lot that's no longer there. I was in what was his car? I knew his name. It was a K car.
Hey, weird. Why are you thinking of that? I threw up in Ames parking lot before.
Really?
Yeah.
How long ago? My mom worked there, by the way. She probably had to clean
You said
up.
16 years?
Yeah, I was 10.
16 years ago.
You were 8, probably.
Yeah, you know what? I would have been 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. My mom didn't believe me. She thought I was faking because I didn't like shopping with her.
Oh, I think I heard this. Yeah, go on.
I was like, Mom, I don't feel good. And she's like, you just want to go home because you don't like shopping. And I was like, no, Mom, I really don't feel well. She's like, yeah, you just want to go home. I'm like, no, I really don't feel well. Long story short, we made it outside of the doors, and I just yacked right on the sidewalk.
Is those doors open by themselves?
The automatic doors open.
Yep.
I ran out beside like the merry-go-round, like the little merry-go-round thing.
That's a Jake Zerme exclusive. He never talks about anything.
And
There's that.
And I yacked right on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So let's we go to that Ames. What are you looking at?
Nothing. I'm gonna take off my glasses though.
Jake just took off his glasses. He looked at something against the wall and took off his glasses.
I just got new glasses, as you know.
Yeah.
And I okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I was in the back of my dad's car. It's a white car, blue seats. I was in the back, and he said, I gotta tell you about something. And I remember, it's so cheesy, but I remember waving to my mom bye as my dad picked me up, because that's the first time I saw my dad in quite some time. He was like, your house. He's like, the house that you live in. He says, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I actually talked to my dad recently about this, but what it was, he said, when we were kids, he was like, around Christmas time, he said all your toys would be making noise without batteries. He said I'd have to take the batteries out, and they'd be so loud that we couldn't sleep. And listen,
what?
The bedroom that I sleep in, it used to be my parents' bedroom. And he said that they would buy toys, and they'd be so loud on the bottom floor that they still could not sleep. And they had to take them out of the house. And one Christmas that I remember, I'll tell it from my perspective, and then I'll tell it from his perspective, my dad's perspective, but I'll tell it from mine right now. There was one Christmas, and I can't tell you the year, how old I was, but I came down, and all our presents were, they were just sitting under the tree, no wrapping paper, no anything.
So they had been unwrapped. It's not as if they were just like clean. No, well, they had been wrapped, but they had been ripped apart.
Well, what I'm saying, in my perspective, I'm just saying from my perspective, there was nothing wrapped. I didn't know they were unwrapped, but that's where it kind of comes in. They were just sitting under the tree, and I don't mean to be weird or fake, because this is 100% true, but that Battle Dome game over your left shoulder, that was one of them. I promise you.
And it was unwrapped?
It was unwrapped and put together. It's not put together anymore, but it was.
I want to hold it. I want to hold at least a bit of it. Keep going.
Okay. So I came home and... Not home. That's a lie. I woke up and I came down to my... Jake is being real weird. I came down and went under my tree, and there was all my presents unwrapped and put together. If they were a game, they were put together. And I didn't think anything of it, but this is the first conversation that my dad had with me after I saw him after a couple of years. He had said, do you remember that one time your Christmas presents were not wrapped? And I said, yeah, of course it wasn't a thing. He said, well, we had wrapped those. We had wrapped those. What are you doing, bro?
I can't get it.
Just leave it then. Just leave it. Anyway, he had said that those presents that year that were not wrapped, he said, we had wrapped those. We had woken up and they were unwrapped for you.
Whoa.
And that was the first thing he said. Now, to kind of get a little bit more in detail, which is our hypothesis about the story. Now, the kids in the house that lived here before my sister and I... Yeah, I'm going to drink that beer real quick. Hold on. The kids that lived in this house before my sister and I were roughly our age. And when the gentleman who had passed away on the motorcycle came back to the house, he had found my mom and my sister and I living here. And we presumed that he thought that we were his kids. And that's why he would tuck us in at night. Because that was what he thought we were his kids. So he'd take care of us. He didn't do anything that was a hindrance of us. So during Christmas, he would unwrap the gifts. And we'd come down and the gifts would not be wrapped. And my mom, to this day, and if you asked her, I don't want to record her because that'd be weird. She said that the years that we all slept in that one room, he would stand up in the hallway at the top of the stairs and watch us as we slept. Not every day, but she would see him out there. She said that was the place she would see him. She never saw him anywhere in the house except for the top of those stairs.
So exactly like 13 or 14 steps down below where we
Yes,
are right now.
She would see him in the hallway. And she had told me once upon a time to get him to go away, she would just say, we're fine, we're okay, you could move on. Just go ahead. And she said when she'd say that he would either like A, like go away right away, or like B, like on the way out and go. But she said that's where the only place she had saw him would be at the top of those stairs, ever. But I did know his name, which sucks, because I did know his name at some point, and she would see him that. And one time that I want to specifically bring up, that I actually brought up on the Chris Gethard show one time and won a t-shirt, is my dad was doing...
Actually, scariest story.
Yeah.
You won scariest ghost story.
Yes. Yeah, and this is a story that I wanted my dad to tell. But it's interesting because the last time I spoke to my dad, I talked to him about this, and he said, yeah, this happened. But the thing that freaked him out more was the Christmas stuff, where the toys would play, and he said, like, I couldn't sleep because they'd be going all night. They'd be going all night, and I couldn't sleep. But he was in the kitchen, and he was, like, washing the dishes. He didn't have his glasses on, for whatever reason, I don't know. He didn't have his glasses on, and he was doing the dishes. Halfway through the dishes, he wanted to take the trash out. So he went to the trash can, took the trash, walked out the back door, and left the back door open, which I think Jake knows this story. But he left the back door open, went to the trash in the back, put the trash in the back, came through the open door, and he said that there was somebody in my kitchen just standing there. And seeing as though he didn't know what to do about it, my dad was an aggressive guy. And
I feel like he's still an aggressive guy.
ITYK exclusive, my dad is still an aggressive guy. But he was an aggressive guy, and he attempted to punch this figure. He has said that he went through the figure, his fist went through the figure, and a force pushed him back onto the kitchen table, which fell over.
So he was toppled over by an
He was pushed into a
force.
table, which flipped the table. He was pushed into a table, and the table flipped. And just to kind of get everything...
And your yard is fenced in.
My yard is fenced in.
You can't get...
That's true,
from,
I never thought about that.
You can't get from your backyard...
No.
...into from the street. Excuse me.
Mhm.
You can't get from your street into your backyard
No.
unless you could jump at least 6.5, 7 feet.
No. Yeah, about that.
And like lariat right over top of it.
Right.
Just vault
Right.
right over top.
And you have to consider that you'd have to do that while somebody exits the house, like, briefly. Not as
Silently.
overnight. Yes. And
Shinobi
already in the kitchen.
ninja style. Yep.
And that's something in that particular
And it was
car
just a
ride,
shove.
Yeah. and he flew back into the table. And in that particular car ride, that's when I learned about the Christmases, and that's when I learned about that. And then that's when I brought it back to my mom, and to kind of put it all together, that's when my mom said, yeah, he would be at the top of the stairs when we slept. And that's when she's like, yeah, we would catch him tucking you in at night. He would come in and tuck you in, move the covers over your sleeping body at night. And so that's...
And you even knew that? Well,
Yeah.
well, subconsciously
I did.
even.
Right, subconsciously.
Which I think leads us to a little break.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Father
Father
of the Week.
Father of the Week.
Father of the Week segment goes to actually your G word Father of the Week.
My G word father.
G word Father
And if
of
you
your
listen
childhood.
to episode 7, we organically came across the idea of Father of the Week, which we gave to New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees last year.
Brees.
And this second week of Father Week, we're going to give it to
Top Hat Father.
Top
of
Hat
your
Father. Top
home.
Hat Ghost Father. He's going to get
You-
Father of the Week.
You said it.
What? Father? Oh, Ghost.
Don't
I mean
stop.
G-word. G-word. And
I mean, you gotta ride the fact that he doesn't know that he's a G word.
Well, I do have more information about if he knows he's a G word.
Well, there's our second
Mm-hmm.
Father of the Week. I think he's a good one because you know what?
No, he never did anything. He never did anything.
He never did anything hostile or
Mhm.
aggressive. Well.
But he was acted upon. My father
He-
punched him.
He did try to punch him. A
And-
specter. It doesn't work well. But he did tuck you in. He was worried about
He
your
tucked you
your
in?
warmth.
And he would sit at the top of the stairs. And
Which, speaking of stairs,
not these stairs.
leads us to more sister things. The stories that I'm thinking of involve the scariest stories about
Okay.
this home.
Did she tell you them?
She was a part of it, but you were also there.
Okay.
You were also there telling it.
And so that's why I went to look back when I said there was a bride and a groom standing up, and the groom just keeps falling down. He won't stand up on the table. That's why Jake is so scared, because the bride will stand up, but the groom will not.
Which reminds me of the story where Todd's dad got shoved over by a G word.
A G word. Right. So these stories... No, don't blow on it. Don't
See,
blow
I
on it.
blew it and he didn't fall. You
Well,
saw
don't
him
blow
move,
on it.
right?
Yeah, right. So the stories from my sister, I guess, I'll be real, I'm not really remembering the ones that you're going to say.
It involves boyfriends.
Oh, yeah. That's what...
Dude, yeah, that's the spookiest part.
These are from my sister's boyfriend. So my sister has had, I won't say a lot of boyfriends, but enough. And they would come over to the house, and we're dating back only a few years, bro.
Probably like
They
4 or
would come
5
over
years.
the house, and we would not see this person, but they said that they would see somebody.
No. Here, can I
Yes,
can I
go ahead.
take this part?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The spookiest part for me is that someone unrelated to your family, unrelated to this home, unrelated to you. The only relation is through your sister, who she met obviously by chance, is how you meet anyone that you date, by chance.
Mhm.
She would bring a young man over,
Mhm.
and without prompting, without knowing anything about this, would say, "Hey, who's that guy up in your bathroom?" To which
That's what it was.
your family
The
would
hallway
say,
at the bathroom.
your family would say, what? There's no one here. It's just us. And this wasn't just one boyfriend. This is at least 2.
Oh, 3, if not 4.
And this is the part that there's a third party
I'm gonna
to this story. Go ahead and crack it.
BEHR.
The fact that there's a third party, excuse me, alcohol. The third party to this story is really
Multiple third parties.
the most distressing part of said story, which leads me to believe it harkens back to the father figure protective.
He's just trying to be the father figure to his kids.
He's protecting.
He thinks we're his kids.
Protecting her. He's just and again, nothing aggressive so
Nope.
far.
No.
Unless acted upon, but watching
No, never
over.
aggressive. He was
Just
acted upon
checking
that
him
one
out.
time. Yeah.
Which you know what? I was looking up some websites before
Okay.
coming here.
Are we trying to get him to
No. Don't
Oh,
even. No chance.
Because that's what I want.
Unbelievable.
I want to
Unbelievable. I will leave. I will.
I want
will
him
go.
to appear right now, so you believe it.
Crazy. Let's move on. I was looking up websites, and it was saying, my brother was actually telling me too. He said the best times were around a full moon, and around times where there's a solar flare, which means the sun is like shooting off solar flares. Like,
That's crazy.
Who knows how long ago?
That's crazy. Not to interrupt you, but that's crazy. That Battle Dome game is one of the things. I swear to you, it was. But go on.
that was unwrapped.
That was unwrapped and put together at the time.
That's
No, I'm serious.
I'll be
it
honest.
was.
That's pretty fucked up. But yikes, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
I
Remember how we said we wanted an empty pee bottle for up here? I'm gonna need it, but I might just, go over there. But go on. We wanted an empty pee bottle. We didn't bring it, and I'm gonna need it. No. Keep that in. Don't cut that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He sent a sign over to me and said, "We'll cut that." And I said, "Don't cut that.
Let's move on.
Why would you cut that?"
Let's move on. I still think that's spooky that you have Battle Dome. The game of rapid fire action and lightning quick reflexes. It's
Here's what
upside
we'll
down.
do.
It's basically a ripoff of Crossfire. If anyone knows Crossfire,
You know what we need to do to kind of get the atmosphere going?
Nope.
No, it's not that bad.
I still say no.
Just talk about what you see in this attic.
Okay. I see a lot of empty boxes. I see a lot of clothes. I see a lot of clothes of years past, which means that they've not been worn in a long time. I see stuffed animals. I see nightgowns.
Look at this.
Old
Cabbage
children.
Patch nightgown.
Cold-
Cabbage Patch nightgown.
No, you're saying the wrong thing. Cabbage Patch onesie.
Onesie.
Unbelievable. There's an empty fish tank. To my left. Old pictures of Pittsburgh. There's Barbie dolls everywhere.
Talk about Bugville a little bit, though. Talk about Bugville. What do you think it is?
Todd could have brought this to. Well, you know what? He might have been older than 8, but
Yeah,
Todd.
it was.
Todd had created. Todd had created a village using Kleenex boxes and what seems just like random boxes. And he created a village, which is very well, pretty good presentation. He's bringing it out right now, as you can see. It's got a Sunny D bottle as the water tower. You know what?
Talk about it.
There's a felt grass field. I see some carrots in a fence. You know what? It's like a Victorian home.
Yeah.
But there's a centipede and a
Bugville,
lake.
bitch.
It's Bugville, bitch. There's Bugville happening all over.
And
Yikes.
if you thought I was lying about that being the cake topper to my parents' wedding, here's the rest of it.
No, I already have a picture. We already put it on Tumblr. Ew, why is the rest of it there? Ugh. Put it back, man. Don't disturb it.
Yeah.
Ew, is that a wedding invitation?
No, it's my,
Thank you card? Ugh. Okay, there's a lot of weird stuff in here, folks. There is just flowers,
Here we
fake
go.
flowers.
I'm gonna read this.
Ooh, Buzz Light. No. That's a Buzz Lightyear card. Do not read that.
Okay.
Okay, so he's gonna. Don't.
Alright, I won't read it.
Well, at least let me read it.
No, I'm not gonna let you read it.
Well, read one of them, I guess. Just I didn't like the look of the Buzz Lightyear one.
Alright, well, I can dig for older stuff, man. Oh, you want something dark?
No.
You want something dark?
I
I'm
guess.
holding it in my right hand, and I promise you that this is the knife that cut the cake at my parents' wedding.
It says Todd and
Todd is my
Cheryl.
dad's name. For those who don't know,
Oh
Todd is my dad's name.
82.
82, bro.
See, I don't think this is a thing, though. I think kid stuff is more of a thing.
You don't think the knife that cut my parents' wedding cake is a thing?
No.
All right.
I think it's important, but I don't think it's
All right.
If I'm putting myself in the shoes, the G word shoes of some unsaid G word, I think.
The unsaid G word. All right. Well, that's that. But I did want to kind of finish that off.
Well, thanks for sharing that story. You know what? I think we covered all the bases of what makes your house extra spooky.
But I want to say more about the boyfriend stuff. We didn't really explain that. Boyfriends of my sister would come over and they'd be hanging out and they would say, "Who is that guy in the top hat right over there?" And she would say, "What do you mean?" And he'd be like, "He's right there. He's standing right there." And she would not know, but she would know because she know that as growing up we saw this man, but these people didn't have any prior knowledge of this situation. But they would come into the house. If there was an unfamiliar male, especially a boyfriend of my sister that would come into the house, they would see this person in the upstairs bathroom or the upstairs hallway. They would. And he worked at Guitar Center, I forget his name, but that's why they broke up, because he couldn't come over. He said anytime he came over, he was bothered by it too much, that's why they broke up. Now, he was a little weird, because he was into, like, nu metal and, like, stupid stuff, but, like, I will say that's why they broke up. He said he couldn't come over. He said there was a portal on the wall, and this person was walking through it, and he saw it.
Unbelievable.
And they all said it was a person in a top hat with a button jacket.
Unprompted, though.
Unprompted,
had no prompts.
They never. Well, no, we don't think to tell people that.
No.
All
it's
of
like,
them.
"Hey, this is my house. By the way, top hat guy." No, that's not something you say to anybody.
No. And my parents, this is a little hearkening back to when we were younger. My mom, specifically, she actually got the original daughter, his real daughter, to come back to the house to say, like, "Hey, man, I'm not your daughter. I don't live here. Please go away." And since then...
Wait. Huh?
You don't know that?
Say it again?
My mom, this is back in the day, my mom got the original daughter, like his actual daughter, to come back to the house to say, like, "Dad, I'm your daughter. I don't live here. I'm your real daughter. I don't live here anymore. Please do whatever you need to do. Go away," And since then, it has subsided. But this was when I was a little kid still. But that guy used to, the G word, he would chase me down the stairs a lot. That, if there's one memory of my childhood about that G word that I remember, he would, when I would go to the top of the stairs, I'd start walking down the stairs, I'd see him behind me, and I'd run down the stairs. What was that noise, drunk Jake? Drunk Jake?
My voice just made a weird thing. You would more or less feel him. That anxious feeling you get coming down the stairs.
And he would chase me down the stairs.
Very strange.
But the reason why we're in the attic, because as I mentioned, the most common thing that my mom would say is we'd all sleep, and I vaguely remember this, to be real with you, I vaguely remember this. She said we'd all sleep with the covers over our head because he would come into the room, walk through the room, and then go up into the attic stairs, right through the door. And that's where we are in the attic, because he would come to this. And that's why we're here.
Do you believe that that's why most of this attic's been largely untouched?
No, it's because of laziness this attic's been untouched. No, I'm not gonna play into it. I'm just being real facts. It's my house where I live in. It's just like a hoarder's paradise, and I
don't think it's that. I think it was like this is a storage space. I mean, this is
bro.
Where you
These
keep
are
your things.
beautiful. Like, close your eyes and picture these bedrooms without stuff in them. How nice are they?
They'd be pretty legitimate,
right?
But knowing what I know, never would they be nice.
Where I sleep now used to look like this. It used to look like this, and I cleaned it out. But that's where we are. And you know what? I'm gonna let you, whatever you have in mind. Oh, you know what you need to talk about? You need to talk about that book on the table. But while you talk, I'll kind of put this dampening thing over your head right now. But while you talk about that book review, I'm gonna Google right now how to talk to ghosts. So go for it.
So let's enter. I was reading Monster Blood. So what better place to review Monster Blood than in Todd's attic. Here we go. Monster Blood.
Monster Blood, R.L. Stine, baby, coming
R.L.
back.
Stine, Goosebumps, number 3. Monster Blood. I actually like this cover. I know I've been riding Jacobus for a bit
Tim
now.
Jacobus, the artist.
But this one's good. And you know what? There's a pair of
He is
glasses
drunk,
with Monster Blood.
folks.
I'm burping. That means nothing. Here you go.
He's drunk.
Monster Blood. I will say this right from the very get-go. If you read the back of the book, I stopped halfway. That means exactly halfway through the book, which is page 64. I stopped at page 64, which is right before chapter 13, and read the back of the book. And the back of the book, the summary, explained in detail everything that had happened so far. Every single thing that had happened so far. Blood everywhere, but not any red blood, folks. It's never red blood, is it? In Monster Blood, it's always green blood. But this does get pretty dark, and it did take a turn for the worse that I forgot completely about from my childhood. Here we go. Let me introduce the main characters. There's Evan. He's a kid. He is transported to his aunt's house. His parents are going on a business trip. They have to do a business trip. Actually, they're looking for a new home in another city. And while they're doing that, for some reason, they can't take Evan along because they got to talk to business people. So,
Wow.
they drop Evan off at an aunt's house, an aunt that Evan had never seen really before, but had heard stories about. And her name was Catherine. She was older. So right now, we'll call her Old Catherine.
Old Catherine.
And right off the bat,
Bad name, by the way.
bad name.
Never
for,
got along with anybody named Catherine.
Bad name for an old woman named, you thinking Blanche or, Ethel. You don't think old, unbelievable that just
Boom.
fell over.
Boom. The groom fell over.
He
from
does
the
not like
bride
the
of
name
groom.
Catherine, and I'm getting chills, so
No,
I'm going to keep
I've never
going.
had a good experience with someone named Catherine.
You know what? That's just a testament to that. It's just a testament to what we're at right now. So
Yeah.
Catherine, Evan, he's got a dog named Trigger.
Trevor.
He's got a dog named Trigger.
I can't believe that groom just fell over again.
I don't want to talk. Let's move on. So we're talking about Monster Blood. Evan has now gotten dropped off with his aunt, Old Catherine. Here's the thing: Old Catherine's deaf. And
Yeah.
the best part about Old Catherine?
Yeah. Say it.
Number 1, there's 2 bullet points. Number 1, she thinks she's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And R.L. Stine hits that at least 7 times, 8
Right.
times. He loves hitting the
Right.
same things over
Yeah,
and over.
he does.
And number 2, she refuses to learn sign language.
Okay.
As a deaf person, she refuses to learn sign language. And
Sang language.
she refuses to read lips. So she doesn't even look at anybody when they're talking to her. So it's a one-way street. It's not a two-way street like most conversations are. I say something, Todd says something. I say something, Todd says something. With Old Catherine, it's a one-way street. She talks and that's it. She doesn't say anything and she thinks she's funny. And R.L. Stine constantly goes, "Oh." Old Catherine laughs as if she thinks she just made a joke. Tons of times, Todd standing up the groom, which had just slipped right out of his hands. Old Catherine thinks she's funny. What are you doing? Old Catherine, I'm going to move on. Get that out of here. Old Catherine has got a cat named Sarah Beth. It's a black cat, of course. It's a black cat with bright yellow eyes, which is a spooky thing. Okay? So let's move on. Evan's got a dog named Trigger. So luckily, the mom and dad don't leave Trigger with Evan. I'm sorry. They don't take Trigger with them. They leave Trigger with Evan at Old Catherine's. Old Catherine actually built a little sanctuary or a little playpen for Trigger at her house. So here we go. Evan gets dropped off right off the bat. His parents are looking for a new home in another city. And Evan is out in the neighborhood. By chance, he meets a nice young girl who's the same age as him. He was actually chasing after Trigger.
Whoa.
Trigger got away.
Okay.
He's running through the neighborhood. He doesn't know. He's like, if I lose Trigger now, all is lost. He catches Trigger and bumps into a young lady named Andrea.
Okay. Whatever you prefer.
R.L. Stine refers to her as Andy. So her nickname's Andy.
Isn't that quirky?
She bumps into him. They start hanging out. Okay, she warns him about a couple bullies from town. Okay, so they meet up the next day. Oh, well, by chance they meet up the next day. Hey, what are you doing, Andy? I don't know. They go and walk through town. She decides to show him around town because
this is Monster Blood, by the way. Still,
Andy's not from this town. I'm sorry. I'm straying. Andy's not from this town. She said, "Oh, let's go into town. Let's take a look around the shops. There's a pretty cool toy store that I haven't been to in a while." Mm-hmm. So Andy and Evan go to the toy store. They go in. Of course, there's a creepy owner. They go in. Of course, there's a creepy section that's off limits.
Sardo.
And of course, Evan. And of course,
Jake just turned around for no reason.
And of course, Evan and Andy go into the restricted section. Andy finds, "Don't hold that mirror up to me." Todd's got a mirror. Put that mirror down.
Dusty ass mirror, bro.
Don't distract me.
Go on. I'm sorry.
Evan goes into the restricted section. He finds an old blue can. And he picks up this old dusty blue can in the restricted section. And it says, "Monster Blood."
Yeah.
So obviously he wants it.
Yeah.
So he takes it up to the owner. And in my mind, the owner's Russian.
Okay.
So the owner, he goes up. He said, "How much? How much for the Monster Blood?" And the owner right off the bat says, "Excuse me, you're not supposed to be in this section." And Evan completely ignores...
You fucked my mother.
Yeah. Oh, Evan completely ignores the fact that he's not supposed to be in that part of the store and goes, "How much?" He goes, "It's not for sale. Is expired. Doesn't work." And Evan goes, "How much?" Complete business...
Groom fell over again.
Stop saying it.
The groom fell over again between the bride and the groom. It fell over again.
The store owner goes, "Not for sale, expired, does not work." Evan goes, "How much?" He goes, "Not for sale." Evan goes, "How much?" He goes, "Not for sale." This goes on for a fucking page. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I said that.
Jake's saying 2 F words this episode. That's what the fans have wanted. Explicit on iTunes. By the way, subscribe to us. Is That Your Kid on iTunes? Go on, Jake. This is an explicit episode. Go on, Jake.
Anyway, he convinces the owner to let him buy this Monster Blood, even though it's expired. He gets home. He and Andy go into Catherine's house. He goes in. I'll speed it up.
You don't gotta keep going.
You know what? We're not even halfway yet.
Yeah, go.
He goes in. Go. He goes in. Catherine stops him. She goes, "Of course, it's a one-way street. No one can talk to Catherine unless you write it down." And Evan doesn't bother with that. Mm-mm. She only talks. It's a one-way street.
Mm-hmm. It's a one-way street.
Evan gives her the Monster Blood. She looks at it and whispers to herself.
Ooh.
A soundless whisper. She examines the can. She turns it over in her hands. She looks at it. She looks at it. She kind of mumbles to herself, and she wordlessly whispers, or wordlessly,
Yeah, go ahead.
lips some things. She turns it over in her hands, gives it back to Evan, and what she says is, "Be careful." And that's it. So Evan and Andy go play with the Monster Blood. When they first take it out, it's cool. It's like silly putty.
Is it like Flubber?
Not yet.
Robin Williams.
No.
Flubber.
It's like silly putty. It's malleable. You could bend it. You can mold it. You could stretch it. You could put it back together.
Wonder who's gonna sound like robots this episode.
You could rip it apart. That's a good question.
I'm just gonna leave him over.
I'm gonna say off the bat, I think it's gonna be me.
Okay.
Because I have the louder mic tonight.
Okay.
They're playing with it. It's cold. They remark that, "Wow, this is cold to the touch. How weird. What cool Monster Blood we got. What a bargain."
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I haggled that old Russian store owner for it.
Yeah.
So they're playing with it. It's cold. And at this point in the story, it's bouncy. So they start bouncing off the walls. Just nilly-willy. They're just bouncing it, having a good time. It's like
this
a bouncy
is R.L.
ball.
Stine's Monster Blood, by the way.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
They remark afterwards, it left stains on all the walls that they bounced it on all the floor. pieces that they bounced it on.
Yo.
It kind of bleached all the floorboards or the wallpaper.
Yo, that's weird.
Yo, that's weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So, that seems strange, but they ignore it. They put the monster blood black. They put the monster blood back, and they kind of go on with their lives. And they hang out the next couple of days. They're playing with it the next day. They're bouncing it, as I told you. It's bouncy. It bleaches. It's even bleaching the grass outside. It gets away from them, and it actually bounces right over to their dog Trigger, Evan's dog Trigger. And guess what?
What?
He eats it, of course. He just gobbles a piece up. He gobbles a little piece up.
All dogs do.
They go, no, Trigger, no. Please don't eat the monster. But, oh, too late.
Ate it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They move on. Hey, Trigger, don't eat that again.
Mm-hmm.
They move on. It goes on. Evan actually has a bad dream, but you don't know it's a dream. But Evan has a bad dream that Trigger grows and grows to an unproportionate size for a cocker spaniel. He grows to enormous proportions.
Well, that's what Andrew Hot Dog Parrish had said on episode 4 that Monster Blood do. For those of you who don't know, we interviewed Andrew Hot Dog Parrish on episode 4. Go on though.
And then right after Trigger gets huge, Evan wakes up from that dream, and then he himself grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Guess what? Fake out. It's an Inception dream. He wakes up again, and then he's really awake that time. So it was a double fake out
and
dream.
That's where the top spins.
That's where you spin it. It
That's
was a
where
double
you spin
fake
the top
out.
if you've seen an
Double
Inception.
fake
If you
out.
haven't, why haven't you?
Double fake out nightmare. So he wakes up. He's walking around the neighborhood. The next time they play with the monster blood, it's actually expanded outside of its can. So outside of the blue can, now, it's much bigger than the can. So Evan and Andy are like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're kids. We don't ask adults for help. What are we going to do with this? So what do? Instead of finding the cylindrical can that was in, they find a coffee can. They put the monster blood in the coffee can. And this point in the story, they remark that, wow, it's not cold anymore. It's actually hot and sticky, which is weird. So the monster blood is adapting, is changing. They move on. Evan is walking to Andy's house one day while he's staying with Catherine, who continues to be weird, who continues to be an absolute weirdo, who continues not to lip read or sign language. He gets beat up by a couple of bullies from town. They're called the Bamer twins. They're twins. They beat him up big time.
Goosebumps. R.L. Stine, Monster Blood, number 4.
It's actually number 3.
Number 3.
The main character gets
number 3. Sorry.
Gets completely thrashed by a couple neighborhood bullies, twins.
Okay.
He goes home. He's all beat up. He actually looks through Catherine's home. The cat's still doing weird stuff. He actually looks up into a different room that he hasn't gone into, of course.
Yeah.
And finds a library of old weird books.
Okay.
An entire library of old weird books.
Like what Belle does in Beauty and the Beast?
Yes, but instead of actually entertaining books, they're strange, cryptic, weird books with symbols and insignias that he's never seen before. It's very strange.
So
Prince wrote
these books.
Andy comes over and is like, Evan, how can you say that you're bored in this town when you have all these awesome books to read? Evan ignores that. He goes on past it. He's, you know what? They're boring. Old books. I don't want to do that. So, it turns out that one day, Evan, when he doesn't wake up, but Evan's up and Trigger's wheezing and gasping. And it seems like Trigger's choking. Evan rushes outside. Trigger, are you okay?
I'm so involved.
Are you okay?
I'm so involved right now.
Trigger is like wheezing, breathing heavily. He's like, Trigger, are you okay? His dream is coming true. Trigger is bigger, noticeably bigger. He rips off his collar. Actually, he can't. Trigger has gotten so big that the collar is so tight that Evan cannot get the collar off of Trigger's neck.
Okay.
And Trigger's literally dying in front of him because he's grown.
About the collar. He's dying about the collar.
Because Trigger the dog has grown and the collar has not grown. and
Okay.
he's dying. He's
Okay.
suffocating. Of course, we're not even 75% of the way. Trigger makes it out. Trigger makes it out. He's fine.
When I say a book review, I don't mean to tell me. I don't mean to. You don't need to tell me the story. You need to review the book.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to review
I'm
it.
giving you more of a play-by-play, and that's my bad. A book review. Okay, let me take a step back because I'm telling you the entire story.
I know.
Piece by piece, and I'm sorry about that, everybody. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Blame Keystone. It's not my fault. I really am apologizing right now.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
So Trigger runs away and can I say Trigger runs away 8 times the story?
Yeah.
It's
dog stuff, right?
It's such a cop out. Trigger runs away.
Welcome to
7
Dead House
or
number
8
1.
times.
What episode?
Monster Blood 3, he's still doing dog tropes. The dog's still running away, being a dog.
What episode did I review Welcome to Dead House on? Was it number 1?
I don't know.
Dog stuff though.
Dog stuff, man. He runs away. Actually, okay. So let's fast track.
Okay.
Monster Blood still does weird stuff, and they remark that
If you hear robot voices, it's just because we're very close and our microphones are very close
and
this
I'm
week.
too
So
loud, and I'm
no.
being too loud.
You're being fine. We're on the 4th floor of the house, but I'm saying if you hear robot voices, it's just
either a
because
G word.
it's either a G word, which is ghost,
Don't
or it's because our microphones are
G
too
words can
close.
still hear you whisper.
G words whisper themselves. I'll be real. I've heard G words whisper.
That's messed up. But let's move on.
Okay.
I don't want to hear that because I'm staying here tonight.
Are you? I thought you said you were going home.
I am.
I'd
don't
love
want
for
to
you to
I
stay
do
here.
not want to stay alone tonight because if I do take this guy home, I don't want to be alone when that happens.
I'm gonna ask you to step up your game and shut that light off.
Unbelievably and a resounding no.
Shut that light off right there.
I'll tell the rest of Monster Blood and then I'll put it back on.
Okay, turn the light off and see where we are. Oh.
Not bad. Scary, but okay.
Yo, it's gotten real scary.
Take a picture while I'm telling the rest of Monster Blood.
Okay.
Here you go.
I will.
Monster Blood, it keeps expanding. It grows. It outgrows the coffee can. Long story short, Evan moves it from a coffee can to a bucket.
I'll say this: you can't see you. That's how.
Evan moves it from a bucket to a bathtub. And while he travels to the basement to put the Monster Blood, because it's expanding and he's scared and he's in a new town and he can't communicate with Catherine. She's a crazy old lady. She'll never believe me. She won't believe that this Monster Blood is expanding. While he's down there putting Monster Blood in the bathtub in the basement, the cat jumps on his back. He gets freaked out. He falls forward into the tub and the Monster Blood sucks him in. At this point, the Monster Blood has moved to maybe, I'm going to say 20 ounces to gallons. It's expanded to gallons, and now it's gone from cold to hot. And Evan is now stuck in the Monster Blood. It's actually sucking him under the bathtub. So he's gone from hands to elbows to shoulders to chin, and now he's suffocating in the Monster Blood, and he's fighting the Monster Blood because the cat jumped on his back.
Bro, this interview is gone. This review is gone
it's about
for
10
like
minutes.
10, 12 minutes.
We're about 10 minutes. He gets out. He runs upstairs. He and Andy try to return the Monster Blood the next day. They say, we gotta take this back. Guess what, Todd?
What?
The toy store, of course, is closed.
Disappeared. Oh, I thought you said...
It's closed, out of business.
Yeah.
Probably because there's some Russian guy
Yeah.
running it. The toy store is out of business. They don't know what to do. They go home, and at this point, the Monster Blood is expanded to such proportions that they're carrying it around in garbage bags.
Okay.
Just gallons of garbage bags. Just tons of garbage bags. They take it home. Catherine is there, and she goes, what's going on? And they go, oh, nothing. They're taking out the trash. They put the Monster Blood in the trash can. At this point, Trigger
R.L. Stine Goosebumps Monster Blood.
Trigger runs from the backyard, knocks over the trash can full of Monster Blood, and now it's in the pavement in the front drive.
You're
Trigger,
really telling me this entire story.
Come on, you knew this was going to happen when you told me I was going to read Monster Blood 3. You knew this. Trigger is now the size, not of a Cocker Spaniel, but of a huge, huge dog. He knocks over
Great
the
Dane
Monster
size.
Blood. Here's the point where I lose it, Todd.
Okay.
And this is where I go from, because I'm sold at this point. Because
I
you
wish
know
I
I
wasn't
love.
losing my hair as much as I am.
Todd has a bald spot. I touched it earlier tonight. I touched his
You
bald
did.
spot.
I forgot you touched it.
I touched it with my fingers.
I am losing my hair.
It wasn't bad. It was just skin.
I'm still okay.
It was just
I'm
scalp.
still a 6 out of 10.
Todd, you don't want to be a part of the story in the Monster Blood, because Monster Blood falls out of the trash can and turns into a blob, and this is where it turns into blubber and starts bouncing threateningly. It starts bouncing towards Andy and Evan. They run through the neighborhood, of course.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
They start running. Guess what? A poor sparrow gets globbed up.
A Spearow? Like in Pokemon?
No, a sparrow.
Sparrow, like a
Gets
traditional
globbed
bird.
up.
Like a
Gets-
traditional bird.
Yes, that's why I said
How many minutes are we going, by the way?
105.
Okay.
It gets globbed up.
Uh-huh.
It gets globbed up.
Yeah.
That sparrow's gone.
Mm-hmm.
They keep running. It's catching us. Oh, I'm R.L. Stine. I'll keep the suspense going for 8 chapters.
Yeah.
Here you go. The Bamer twins. Remember those bullies?
Yeah.
Here's where the stuff gets dark.
Edited himself.
Here's where it gets dark. The Bamer twins are in the way. Evan and Andy get out of the way, and the Monster Blood globs them up. And they are now, at this point in the story,
I've never
dead.
heard you more passionate.
At this point in the story, they're dead. He gets eaten by the Monster Blood. You can't breathe in Monster Blood. They're dead. They get globbed up. They run back home. Because what else do you do? There's only 3 settings in the story. Home, toy store, Andy's house. They get globbed up. They go back home. The Monster Blood follows them. Catherine's standing in the doorway.
This is not a review. This is the whole story.
I'm
still.
sorry. I'm bad at reviews. You should.
You review it. Just review the story.
Well, I think it's good.
Okay.
Catherine's standing in the doorway. At this point, I'm 95% done.
Great.
Catherine's standing in the doorway. She basically is the equivalent. She sees the Monster Blood coming, and what does she do? She basically does, oh, shh. Closes the door. Monster Blood busts through. Monster Blood goes into the door, inside their home. Evan and Andy go in.
I feel like I read the book.
I basically walked you through the book. I thought that was the point in the beginning of this. Monster Blood goes through. It's a standoff between Catherine and the Monster Blood. It's bouncing threateningly at Catherine. Meanwhile, it's got the twins inside. Evan and Andy are like, no, please, no, not Catherine. Even though I hated her the entire book, now I care about her all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine all of a sudden raises an old bony finger. It wasn't me. It was her. And Evan has a flashback. He sees the old books. He sees the black cat with the yellow eyes. He sees Catherine's weird mannerisms. And he says, in his mind,
I hope someone's following.
She's a witch. She's a witch. She cast a spell when she was looking at the Monster Blood. When wordlessly whispering to it, she cast a spell on it and made it. She hated Evan the entire story. Now, Evan realizes that Catherine, has been trying to kill Evan the entire story. She goes, it wasn't me. It was her. And she points at Andy. And Evan looks at Andy, but past her, and looks at the cat. The cat, Sarah Beth, transforms from a cat.
This is so much for me right now.
The cat transforms from a cat into a human. A woman who I perceived while reading it as a very attractive lady with red hair.
I bet.
With red hair, and they did say, in Arlstein, they say she had red hair.
Okay.
With red hair.
Okay.
Here's the real witch.
Okay.
She put Catherine under a spell 20 years ago.
I hope someone's following.
Made her deaf. No, I didn't follow either. There's no relevancy to any of this. There's no relevancy. Sarah Beth the cat, the yellow-eyed cat, put Catherine under a spell. Cast a spell on the Monster Blood to try to kill Evan. Anyway, the Monster Blood comes towards Evan and Andy. They jump out of the way, and guess what? It sucks up Sarah Beth instead.
Subscribe on iTunes. Go on.
This is why you don't give me the mic for 20 minutes.
Is that your kid on? Is that your kid on iTunes?
Don't give me the
Subscribe.
mic for
Go on.
10 to 12 or 15 minutes long, because I'll do this sort of stuff.
This is the best.
By the way, folks, this is the last Goosebumps I'll ever review.
No, Monster Blood 2. You're gonna read all the Monster Bloods.
I'll do better next time.
No, you did fine this time.
Here we go. The Monster Blood attacks Andy and Evan. They jump out of the way. Guess what? It gets Sarah Beth. She gets sucked in. Immediately. Oh, you know what? I left out a big part.
Good.
You were distracting me.
Good.
God, I gotta backpedal now, huh?
Do not backpedal.
Evan and Andy, we gotta get out of here. The Monster Blood's coming right for us. They start running. Guess who
Nerds
saves
from
the day?
Western Pennsylvania host a variety show while struggling to cope with one another's personalities. That's the description on it.
Here's one of my flaws.
So go on.
Here's one of my flaws. Guess who saves the day, Todd? Trigger.
The pup.
Trigger saves the day. He jumps, excited to see Evan.
Yeah.
He bounds over Sarah Beth.
Yeah.
Just bowls right into her, knocks her right into the Monster Blood.
Okay.
She gets sucked in. The Monster Blood instantly starts to dissipate. And at the same time, Trigger starts to get tinier and normal sized.
Yeah.
The Bamer twins, unfortunately, the Bamer twins get spit out. Oh man, your reflection just freaked me out.
Where?
In the fish tank.
Oh, my reflection in the fish tank. Well, I'll say this: if ghosts were looking to haunt us,
now is the time.
I'll say this: they probably peaced out.
I'll even say the G word because no ghost would want to stick around for this boring story that I just told you.
They've gone.
God,
they've gone.
I can't even.
Everyone stopped.
I can't even captivate
10
ghosts. I can't even captivate ghosts with my storytelling. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
That's disappointing.
By the way, this is Goosebumps, issue 3 by R.L. Stine, Monster Blood.
Anyway,
I don't know if he's ever mentioned that.
I said it multiple times. You've said it 5 times.
Okay.
Catherine's, guess what? Not deaf.
This is the review.
Catherine's not deaf. She's not.
Old Catherine.
Who thinks she's funny is not deaf.
Not funny.
Sarah Beth is gone. She's dead.
Okay.
She got sucked into the Monster Blood. The Bamer twins got spit out. And guess what? R.L. Stine thought it was important to tell us that the sparrow was still alive. And it fluttered out the door. Unbelievable. Right? The sparrow's alive, everybody. No one dies in the story. Except Sarah Beth.
Well, no, because it's not Fear Street. Only Fear Street
the cat
dies.
So, at that very same moment, as soon as all this shit went down, Evan's parents come home. Hey, Evan, so good to see you. And Evan goes, you know what? You're never going to believe the story that I have to tell you. And she was like, yeah, I bet you had a real good time. And Catherine goes, you know what? You're never going to believe this story.
This is your opus, I think.
Which ends Monster Blood #1. Oh! Doesn't end. Postlude. Excuse me.
Jake has turned the light on.
Postlude, which is darker than it was before. Postlude.
Weird.
Evan and Andy have a sort of interaction in the end, and they feel really awkward because they're young. And they're like, well, we had a really good time bebopping around the neighborhood, solving crimes together. And guess what? You know what? Can I get your number? You know, like, I'll call you when I move to my new city. He's like, oh, yeah, you definitely should. I totally think you should. And Andy, you know what she says?
Still doing this.
The Monster Blood goes back to its original form, and Andy says, can I keep some of it? Hey, you're missing the end of it. Can I keep some Monster Blood? You know, to remind me of you. And Evan says, yes.
So that is from page 1 to page 186.
Okay,
Monster Blood.
Todd. I'm sorry that
Christ.
I'm sorry that I said the whole thing, and that's my bad. Let's wrap it up. Really bad. Let's end. That's Monster Blood. As a review, here's my review. There's a lot of repetition, but I get it. It's a child's novel. There's a lot of repetition. It was good. Trigger ran away too many times.
Dog stuff, always.
The Monster Blood expanded and grew way too many times. It expanded out of a can, out of a coffee can, out of a bucket, out of a bathtub, out of a trash can, out of garbage bags. It expanded way too many times. It kind of bored me. But Trigger was the worst part. And the best part, because he saved the day.
Right. Welcome to Dead House, the same thing.
Exact. This ain't dog stuff. He must have had a dog.
I would cheers you, but I've drunk this beer. Is that?
You haven't
drank it.
You haven't
I
used
meant
the have,
drank
has,
it.
or had, so it's drank. You got it.
Yeah.
Here we go. And so there it is. I hope I didn't leave anything out. So you don't need to read the first Monster Blood.
I hope you don't leave anything out.
Because it's the worst one.
You read it, basically.
It's the worst one. The other two are way better. And I will review those and do a better job next time. But last time, let's do Is That Your Goof? Last time, first Is That Your Goof, real quick.
The Alamo.
I expressed... Last time I expressed a little bit of a distress about you and me getting mistaken for a gay couple. I did a lot of thinking. I'm fine with it. And I'd be honored to be mistaken with you as a gay couple.
Oh my god, this is the drunkest you've ever been.
I'm okay with that.
By the way, Is That Your Goof is a segment that we harken back to past episodes, and we say that if we have messed
They know.
up... No, they don't. They
Yes.
just listen. They just started to listen. Is That Your Goof is a segment in this show where we say where we messed up in past episodes, and Jake has just admitted in episode 8 that Is That Your Goof?
I may have overreacted, and
He
you
said He said that he would like to be a gay couple with me.
Unbelievable. You're twisting it like you did last episode. I said I was a little off-put by the fact that, someone mistaken.
Fine with it, folks.
Unbelievable. Yes, I am okay with it, but you made it seem like I wasn't.
He's gay for me.
Yeah, okay, fine. And the other Is That Your Goof? Last episode I said, you know what? I won your game. I won your game last episode, and you didn't have anything.
No.
You didn't have a bad thing to say.
That was the best part.
Yeah, the best part. Well, here's that Is your goof. I said I was okay with you not having a thing.
Yeah.
You know what? I lied. You lied about having a story to put yourself down. You know what? And I lied about being okay with it. I wasn't. Here's yours, and you're gonna read it right now.
This is... Oh my god, this episode's gonna go 2 hours.
It's 1:15. Wrap it up. This will be the last thing.
Okay, so I have to read this.
Don't pre-screen it. Go for it.
I'm not gonna pre-screen it. Okay. So in last episode, episode 7, Diabolical Liberties, I had said we had played a game, and I said that if I had won the game, Jake has to read a sheet of paper that I wrote that puts himself down. And then if he won the game, that I have to read something that puts me down. Well, he had won the game, but what he did not know is I never wrote something down about myself. So he had just passed over to me a sheet of notebook paper in my own goddamn attic about something I have to read, but I have no qualms in reading this. So what I will read is something that Jake had wrote.
Don't preface it like that. This is you. This is
Okay.
all Todd.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Okay, so this is what Jake wrote for me, and I'm about to read it
You're still
verbatim.
prefacing it. Keep going.
Hello. Everything I'm about to say is 97% true. My name is Todd Tinkletown Tondera. I'm a big fan of music that is mostly just talking. The more confessional, the better. Jake is usually late to everything, but the fact of the matter is, I love it. It doesn't bother me at all where he is running late or when he makes me miss the trailers before movies at the theater. Ooh. Sometimes when I go to the movies with my friends, I buy a ticket to a completely different movie than my friends and I had originally agreed upon. I am really good at reading out loud there. I said it. I dislike girls with short hair. The only hairstyle I enjoy on a lady is a ponytail or related updo. My name is Todd, and I'm fine with lippy girls, and I also hate professional wrestling.
Well,
there it is, folks.
that's all 90% true. 97% true.
97% true, all of that stuff.
I didn't write that, by the way. That's just Todd's
Wow,
mantra.
so you took the ghost right out of this ghost episode.
You're welcome.
But you could catch up on us at isthatyourkid.podomatic.com. Isthatyourkid@yahoo.com. If you want to email us, talk to us. I know that something in the works from last episode. Jake Gordon, the pickpocketer, is going to be an art piece soon. So isthatyourkid@yahoo.com to speak to us. At isthatyourkid on Twitter. isthatyourkid.tumblr.com. Please hit us up at any time. This has been episode 8, and as traditional, the Keystone Beer is talking. Jake, you can send it out. This is our longest episode ever. Go for it.
Sorry about the review. Last time I expressed a little bit of a distress about you and me getting mistaken for a gay couple. I did a lot of thinking. I'm fine with it.